let's jump into our breakdown of the last episode of this arc, episode 6. And we begin this episode on Steerguard, and I have never seen a planet look exactly how it's named until now.
That planet is Steerguard. That it couldn't be anywhere else.
Yeah, this place is just all industrial factory, and we see Luthen's Fondor Hullcraft parked near the port, and the ship opens to let Cassian on, still in his Varian sky disguise, and Luthen scolds him for being late, and then they take off into space heading for Coruscant. Were you going to say something?
Nope.
Okay.
No,
okay.
I was just, I love this. I love them talking in the next little bit about, Luthen's almost getting it's the shop talk of the mission, right? He's almost like, who were you? Like, tell me about your character that you came up with. Because I get the feeling that that's part of this whole business that Luthen really enjoys, is putting on the act, as much as it also wears on him.
Yeah, and after they talk shop a little bit, like, who's your character? Not bad. Okay, I like that. Cassian advised Luthen not to get involved with the Ghorman front, and Luthen mentions how he heard it didn't go very well because the Ghormans already sent word.
Yeah.
And Cassian says that they're just too impatient, but Luthen ends up defending them, and Cassian says that they're building a new armory, and Cassian goes on to explain their plan. He says that no one will care about it, and it isn't worth getting involved, but Luthen is adamant that the Empire will care about it. And again, I think we're getting the sense Luthen is itching for this to become a full-scale conflict.
Right. He's also seeing something Cassian is not seeing here, because, like, whatever happens on Ghorman, the Empire is certainly going to care about. I think Luthen sees this spotlight being shown on Ghorman and is like, oh, it's a stage for us to present the first act of our play, So, yeah, it's Cassian, I think, needs to open his eyes a little bit.
I would agree with you. And Luthen agrees with this as well. He challenges Cassian, saying that he's thinking small, that he's thinking like a thief. And Cassian counters that he's thinking like a soldier, but Luthen says that he needs him thinking like a leader. Yeah. A planet like Ghorman and Rebellion, a planet of wealth and status, would make the galaxy pay attention to what's going on. And Cassian asks what happens if it goes up in flames, and Luthen answers, it will burn very brightly.
Yeah, get the line from the trailer. So you can see that, Luthen doesn't really care about the exact outcome of anything that happens. He just knows that this is a chance to make a statement.
Either way. If they rebel and everything goes great. If it doesn't, even better, because people will be shocked and dismayed at what happened on Ghorman.
Yeah. He's almost doing the same thing the ISB is.
Yeah.
Just with better intentions.
Yes, essentially. We cut to Coruscant. In the gallery, Kleya has to leave a customer to take a call from Luthen, and he reports that the Ghorman is a waste of time, but you can tell he doesn't really feel that way.
Right.
And we learn that Kleya sent Vel to Ghorman. Like, they kind of had a backup plan anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's an interesting thing. Like, I don't know if everything with Bix just they kind of were unsure about Cassian to begin with, like with where he's at right now. I don't know what that says, but it is interesting that Vel seems to kind of already be on Ghorman. Like, I think
she was already there.
Like, her and Cassian passed like ships in the night kind of deal. So I don't know. I don't know what that says about Luthen and Kleya's opinion of Cassian at this moment.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it at the end of this episode, because what happened? Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It's very interesting. But yeah, on Ghorman, Vel is sitting and waiting in the Memorial Plaza and makes contact with one of the Resistance members, and she's ready to begin where Cassian wasn't ready to do that. We cut to Coruscant. Cassian returns to the safe house, but Bix doesn't answer at first, and I was thinking the worst, Mac.
Yep. There were many scenarios in which, I was worried.
Yeah.
That, I didn't know if somebody had broken in and something had happened, or if something with the
overdose.
drugs. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's also going through my head.
Yeah.
But fortunately, not the case.
Not the case. He enters and he finds it fully clean, and she seems to be doing well, and the two embrace, and she's made it look like a home, and then ask about the trip, and they joke about him being a fashion designer, and they kind of have this fun little moment, and you see how good their relationship actually is.
Yeah.
But when he asks if she's okay, she doesn't really answer that, and instead she tells him that Luthen came after he left, and that sets Cassian off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would get at me too, right? They just
for sure.
had this bad interaction, and then knowing that this happened like while I was gone, and Luthen's kind of sticking his nose into like my personal relationship now. Like I understand why he's getting defensive.
100%. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, Luthen is also acting with some mystery in this regard.
Yeah.
Not sure what the end game is there.
I'm not really sure either, but Cassian doesn't like that he came to her alone and that he never mentioned it. And Cassian knows that Luthen is up to something, but like us, I don't think he's fully aware what he's actually up to, but we all know that he's got an angle playing here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Then we cut to a speeder, and in their speeder, Perrin and Mon plan out their schedule and how to manage it all. And they seem to be really on the same page right now. Like they seem to be in a good spot.
Yeah, it is good to get a snapshot of them working well as a couple. In contrast to everything we have seen. It's interesting that like as part of Mon's life is getting worse and worse and worse by the day with the whole Take Holma situation and all that.
Yeah.
She's just becoming more and more exposed to the Empire. It's interesting how her home life has kind of rebounded from where it was in season 1.
How'd you just get rid of the kid? And then, everything was fine. As soon as Lita's out of the house, it's like Perrin's back to being normal again. So
is she out of the house though? Like, does she live with with Skolden?
I think they live on their own.
They're like 15.
Two 15-year-olds just living life on Chandrilla as a happy married couple.
Okay.
Sagrona.
Sagrona Tima.
Thank you. Yeah. And it's never going to get old to me. In the gallery, it hasn't
already started to get a little bit old.
No, Sagrona. No, Sagrona. In the gallery, Luthen sees that Cassian is standing at the door, and that's a big no-no, and Luthen is not happy about it. He tries to keep the charade up, but Cassian doesn't let him, and Cassian confronts him about coming to Bix, and Luthen ends up saying that he's disappointed in both of them. The fact that she told him, and that he is afraid to move on Ghorman, and he says this line. I thought this was a really good line. He says, "Soft on Ghorman, but willing to protect Bix at any cost." And that's what he's really frustrated at Cassian about, of like, you have your priorities wrong.
Yeah, even though that like we as the audience may disagree with Luthen's assessment of those priorities. Sure. 'Cause like I would, I think that Cassian's acting in the best, like he has his priorities straight in my view. He's just not balancing them well. I don't know.
It seems like Luthen is manipulating relationships though. Like, it's not just Cassian and Bix, it's Vel and Cinta too.
Because that comes up big time. The line comes up later that, Vel's like,
he didn't even tell me.
And he knows that like they're more valuable to him separately than they are together.
And maybe that's what he's trying to do with Bix.
I think that's absolutely the case.
Try to break them apart so that way Cassian's not so dependent on her.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, Luthen reassures him that he wants Bix as strong as Cassian does, but Cassian draws the line in the sand. If he wants to keep helping, he needs to know his boundaries.
And that's fair.
Yeah.
Because, Cassian is committing a major espionage faux pas here by just showing up at the gallery. But I think Luthen had already kind of done that by, sticking his nose into Cassian and Bix's business.
For sure.
So turnabout's fair play.
Yep. In the morning at the ISB headquarters, Partagaz stops Lonnie and Hurt, and he brings up Dr. Gorse. Turns out he's been too successful at torturing people, and that the military intelligence wants to start utilizing Dr. Gorse's methods. They're expanding him into a program, and Lonnie and Hurt will be the ISB representatives at this new facility that they're going to do this at. And Hurt, overeager, says that it's an honor, and Partagaz goes, "Really? Really?" Like, he's like,
an honor.
He's so like, I see right through what you're doing. Don't be overeager like this. He's disgusted by that. And when he leaves, Lonnie makes Hurt take the lead on it. He's like, "Hey, you kind of stepped in it, so this is yours."
Yeah, but this puts Lonnie in a bad position too. I don't think he's nearly as valuable to the rebellion, siloed off in the torture garden.
Do you think that Partagaz just saw the first two people and is like, "That's exactly who I wanted on this"? And
I think probably. I mean,
he just walks in and is like, "There's my two guys."
Yeah. As much as Partagaz represents the ISB, he's also one of the more chill members of the ISB. I think
he is.
He's got kind of a no nonsense let's cut the crap and really talk about what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Kind of attitude, which is actually kind of endearing, even though he's a bad guy.
Yeah, it is. It is. We cut to Ghorman. Vel waits at the cafe for Cinta, and she's a little nervous. It seems like things are a little awkward at first when Cinta gets there, and they discuss what their plan is and how it will be fast and simple for them, and if they don't like what they see, they can just walk away. But then Vel admits that she told Luthen that she would only take the assignment if Cinta were on it. Yeah. And Cinta says, then, "You're the only reason I'm here." That's got to eat at her later.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But this is really sweet. I love that they get to connect because they, it felt so open-ended the way it ended up in season 1. So I'm glad they get their moment of reconnection and everything, even if it's fleeting.
It's tragic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then Cinta confesses that she had an accident and told Luthen not to tell her, and it took her a long time to recover.
Yeah.
And so, again, just that scale of there's been things happening in between, episode 3 and 4.
Yeah. Yeah, Cinta's when a wrestler gets injured and they think of a storyline reason why they're away for a few months or whatever, and then there's a triumphant return. And this is the
at the Royal Rumble. Yeah.
Yeah, the re-entrance at WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. But it's just episode 6 of season 2.
Yep. On Coruscant, Partagaz meets with Dedra, and she updates him on how the rebel attack on Ghorman is imminent. Then Partagaz warns her that she's walking a very narrow line, and he says Syril must never know what this is really about.
It's just what Krennic said in the room with everybody.
Okay.
It's top secret. It's
so you don't think Syril knows everything about?
I don't even think he knows the end game with Ghorman.
Okay.
First of all, I don't think Dedra even knows the entirety of what she's involved in. But, I don't think she knows. This is obviously going to lead up to the Death Star somehow, I think. Because Krennic's involved. It's the Energy Initiative thing. But, I don't think Dedra knows anything about that. And I think Syril knows even less than Dedra knows. Because, she is indeed just kind of keeping him on a string.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to end well for either of them in this season at all.
No, I don't think they get happy endings.
Nope. On Ghorman, Vel and Cinta walk the Ghorman front through their plan. One of them is a hothead. It's the guy who is selling the spiders to Syril in episode 4, and Vel sets them straight. And again, if you were to told me that this was a World War II movie about the French resistance, I'd believe you because they're straight up just wearing clothing from that period.
And like everything they're talking about is the same.
I think they're speaking French. I'm not sure.
A vaguely
sounds French.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. It's really hard to get my mind out of the Les Miserables space.
Yeah. Vel goes on to say that they need to learn the chain of command and respect that. Only Vel and Cinta will carry blasters. Hothead should have listened to that.
Should have listened, because that was for a reason.
Yep. Then the hit will happen tomorrow night because Vel says that intelligence gets stale. And I really, really love the music in the scene. I thought the music really stood out to me in this scene in particular, so I wanted to mention that.
I'll shout out episode 6 in general. I think the music was a standout. Yeah. There's a few scenes coming up, too, that had really good musical moments. So.
Yeah. On Coruscant, Bix retrieves her drops, taking a hit before making sure Cassian isn't looking. And then he wakes up to find her not in bed again. And when he meets her at the window, Bix tells Cassian that the light is flashing again. So that means they have a new mission. And Bix insists that she is coming along this time. And he agrees. Now, I did not put these two things together until like I was really going through my notes of like, oh, I think Luthen gave them this mission. And we'll talk about that at the end. But like I was thinking whenever the ending of this happens, Bix was just taking this on, like they were doing this as like a personal thing, but I think this was actually a mission.
Yeah, I think it is the mission that they're talking about here that we see later.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. It seems more like just guerrilla warfare than what they're normally doing in terms like it's not very tactical, planned out. It seems like two people in street clothes walked into a building with guns and did the thing. Yeah. So like, yeah, I think maybe Luthen put it together in a real hurry or something like that too. And that would support what you said of like, maybe this is playing into the manipulation he's doing.
I don't know. Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, we'll talk about that more towards the end of this episode. But on Ghorman, Vel and Cinta discuss the plan, but then the conversation turns to the relationship, and Cinta apologizes for hurting Vel, and Vel admits to not being perfect either. And Vel is actually upset that Luthen kept her in the dark. And Mac, I'm starting to think that someone in the rebellion may be the one to turn on Luthen.
Yeah.
It could be Vel.
Like this, I mean, honestly, at this juncture, I could see that happening with her being seemingly kind of sidelined at the end of season 1 and not being thrilled with that. And then everything with Cinta, like she certainly has new motivation to change courses. Mm-hmm. So we'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah. I'm starting to think that Vel might do something pretty drastic with Luthen. I don't know. I'm getting that vibe. But I also feel like a lot of people are starting to question Luthen's like ability to operate this now.
Yeah, I think they're at the stage of the rebellion where it's growing pains from that, like, we don't have the luxury of decency, everything's in the shadows mode of operation, to we're actually forming an organization and kind of doing more collaboration and outward work that the galaxy's going to see. And Luthen was a great leader for that first part. It's in question whether or not his ideology, his methods are going to be able to grow with the rebellion.
Yep. And then Vel and Cinta embrace for one last time. Dun, dun, dun. And then on Coruscant in the Imperial Senate building in the central dais, we have a brand new character leading the Senate in an oath. And you want to know what his name is?
The truth sayer?
the Oath Keeper, and this dude looks just like someone from like the Covenant from Halo.
I was thinking Halo or like World of Warcraft or something. It definitely looks video gamey.
Doesn't he? This is what he says. He says, "Upon my life and honor, for the peace and bounty for all beings, my full allegiance, a galaxy of worlds, a galaxy assembled, an empire."
It's the Pledge of Allegiance for the Galactic Empire, I guess.
Yeah, and Mon starts it off, but she cannot bring herself to speak the words and storms out, and Erskine rushes out after her. And then we cut to the gallery where Luthen tells Kleya that their driver is there to take them to the party. And we cut to Davos Skolden's building, which at first I thought might be the Opera House from Revenge of the Sith and The Mandalorian.
It's my best throat singing impression.
But it's not that. I'm really trying to get this scene because I want to talk about this. Mon and Perrin exit their speeder heading towards the party. And this was the most shocking thing in these 3 episodes because they run into Bail Organa, but it's not Jimmy Smits. It's Benjamin Bratt.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like, we've had Jimmy Smits since Revenge of the Sith. Or before that, actually, I think, right?
Yeah, in Attack of the Clones.
In Attack of the Clones, yeah. So, I mean, he's been the guy, and he's still around, and he was just in
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan Kenobi series.
And it's him in Rogue One.
Right. And it's Benjamin Bratt now.
From Miss Congeniality.
Miss Congeniality is the biggest thing it's the biggest one.
I don't hate the casting for Bail Organa, actually.
No, he's a great, like, he looks the part, acts the part.
Yeah.
Like, I think he'll be a great Bail. Because also I don't think that's the last we're gonna see of Bail. I think they needed to introduce him as a new actor and stuff just real fast. That's why the scene's so quick. And then he'll come back up later.
Surely, because why would you include a brand new actor and then never come back to him
just
again?
for like a 2-minute or like not even 2 minutes. It's like a minute long
30
cameo.
seconds. Yeah. I think so I feel like this is going to be a huge topic of conversation this week of the recasting. There has to be a reason for it, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of articles coming out of like Jimmy Smits was filming something and could not get away to film this, and they really needed Bail and to be honest with you, I feel like from season 1 they needed Bail Organa. That's just my opinion.
He was kind of a missing presence, just because like you wanted to have kind of the big principal players around the table in Rogue One. You want to kind of know about them, and like what they've been doing with the rebellion and stuff.
So like you've got 3 or 4 primary rebellion leaders. You've got Mon Mothma, you've got Luthen, you've got Saw Gerrera, but Bail Organa is like the one who is actually like pure at heart. He's got like his rebel cells are all like Phoenix Squadron and the Ghost Crew and Ahsoka and stuff. So it's like he's the dude.
He's like the political liaison character for the Rebels universe. Yeah. And then Mon Mothma is that character for the Andor world. It's interesting. I'm sure it was probably something like a scheduling conflict or just the fact like Jimmy Smits is almost 70 now.
But I don't know. He looks good. He's a good looking guy. He could do it.
For sure.
I don't know. I hate that he couldn't be in it, but I don't hate Benjamin Bratt in this role at all.
No, I don't either. It was a second that I had to just adjust and like, what? Huh? What's going on?
Because for a second I was like, wait, does Bail have a brother or something?
it's Pale Organa. That's me when I haven't been out in the sun all winter.
Yeah, I don't. It's just going to take some time getting used to. So I think you're right. They did this scene so we could like get it out of the way. Yeah. Hey, we had to cast someone new in this role. But here's what I will say. they have no excuse not to recast Luke, Han, and Leia for the big Dave Filoni crossover movie that they're going to be doing.
That is true.
If we can recast Bail Organa, we can recast them.
Yeah, I agree. And like we've already done it once. We've got Alden Ehrenreich who's played Han. Like we've already got the casting there. So yeah, I don't know.
Great.
Yeah, I would love. Like, I think if this kind of thing became more common, it would just be less of an issue going forward, right? If they just kept, like, yeah, we got to rip the Band-Aid off a little bit and have a couple jarring things. But if it becomes commonplace, it'll just become part of that visual language of, it's part of having a story that goes on for, it's been going on almost 50 real years now. So,
yeah. So back to the story part of this. Bell says that he's free from the party. It was his last investiture party of the season. And then he wishes them good luck before leaving. And I think like he nailed Bail Organa in the 30 seconds that we had of him. I was like, yeah, that feels like Bail.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got no issue for what was presented on screen. It's just the stuff that is not on screen that is giving me pause. Right. I'm excited to see what Benjamin Bratt does with the character.
I'm just happy Bell's involved. Like, finally,
it was
here
good
he
to
is.
see him.
Yeah,
good to see a nice blue coat going on.
Yeah. So then we cut to Partagaz ordering the ISB agents to exit the room for security reasons because they're about to listen in on Syril's report of what the Ghorman front is doing. And then at the party, Davos Skolden greets Mon and Perrin, and then we cut to Ghorman, and the attack on the transports is about to begin. They ready the getaway transport down in the catacombs as Syril watches from the rooftops in secret. And then Vel and Cinta check in with each other before the action starts. And we cut back to the party, and Luthen shows off his bling. He says it's pre-Carvian, and I looked into that, and I couldn't find any information on what they were discussing. I think this was created just for the show. And Luthen says that they think that it's Lost Empire, and I'm very intrigued by what that is.
I was almost thinking the Celestials. It's the Empire that we kind of know was there at one point, but it's lost to time. We know that if Luthen's digging back as far as the Infinite Empire with the Rakatan invaders, what's preventing him from going just a little further back?
Oh, Mac, keep talking.
I think I finished my thought, but
oh man, dude, I love stuff like that in Star Wars. That's what makes Ahsoka so fun. So yeah, he makes eye contact with Kleya as she talks with Skolden's assistant, and she's very, very worried about reappraisals, kind of just repeating that conversation again from earlier. Hurt then downs some drinks with Lonnie as they're joined by Legret, and Hurt is pumped about some Cali coolers. He's on his third one.
Yeah. All the drinks that they make at all these parties look delicious.
I'm sure you'll be able to drink them at Oga's Cantina. In a year or so.
Very shortly.
Yeah. On Ghorman, the mission begins as the transports arrive on schedule, and they set up the mines in the road to block the way. We cut back to Coruscant. Luthen meets with Mon, congratulating her on her new initiatives. And they head to the window to talk privately, and Mon asks about Vel. And Luthen wants to know why she wants to talk to her. And Mon's like, because I care about her?
So she's my cousin? What do you mean?
Exactly. And again, I think it's just the writers driving home that Luthen has become detached from reality in a kind of a sense of like the relationships is probably what got you started doing this anyway, and you've lost sight of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then Perrin and Davos' wife ask them to join them in Davos' private collection. And Kleya then makes direct contact with Lonnie, and he does not like this one bit because, of course, she's probably the one that recruited him, and they're talking to each other, and he could be found out. And she pretends to flirt with him, but she tells him to follow her orders and all will be fine. Then in the collection, Davos shows off his newest piece and thanks the man who helped him acquire it. And it's our boy, Director Krennic.
Bum, bum, bum.
And it's so
terrible surprise to walk into for our heroes.
I think that's what 4 and 5 were lacking as well. Of like, you introduced director Krennic in the last 3 episodes, and then for him not to show up until this one, he was kind of a missed presence, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And then him and Mon do not like each other. She says when she sees him, how pleasant it is to see you free of the witness stand.
Yeah, just getting right into it. They take no, like, they're not doing any effort to hide their animosity for each other. I get the sense that they've probably clashed openly in the Senate and stuff before. I don't think Krennic is on to Mon's rebellion activities or anything like that.
They just don't like each other.
Yeah, they just don't like each other. They've clashed publicly in the Imperial Court, if you will.
Yeah, and then Davos shows off the lost Terran. That's what he's really excited about. And Kleya takes Lonnie to the piece that has the microphone in it, and she needs his help getting it out. And this is when the episode really starts ramping up. And on Ghorman, the attack begins, and they use the EMP mines to stop the transport, and Cinta flips down onto the carrier to throw another mine on it, crippling it. And Syril reports that they did it and that it's working. On Coruscant, Davo explains that the piece that they're looking at is from the Battle of Karamine. Again, I believe this is new. I couldn't find anything on that in terms of if that's something previous from Star Wars. And as they're explaining it over on one side, on the other side, Kleya explains that she needs Lonnie to block her view while she works to remove the microphone, explaining the piece that, and she starts explaining the piece that they're looking at. And Kleya takes the key off of her blouse to kind of crank it in and get the microphone out.
Yeah. Lonnie stresses me out in that sequence so much. I just want him to get with the program, and he refuses to get with the program. And I know it's to keep the tension up as we go through that sequence, but it started wearing on me in a way. I was like, Lonnie, you're a rebel. Get with the picture.
He was trained by Maya Pei.
Yes, absolutely. He's coming from the Maya Pei squad for sure.
Yeah. So on Ghorman, they begin to move the crates down to the catacombs and then onto the getaway transports. On Coruscant, Kleya struggles to insert the key. We cut back to Ghorman. Vel tells them not to rush. Smooth is actually faster and better. On Coruscant, Kleya turns the key as the group moves towards them. And Krennic says that they studied the Battle of Karamine at the Academy, and Mon begins sparring with him with like just back and forth. I think she likes to irritate him a little bit. I think she kind of enjoys that.
Yeah, well, I get the sense that she's particularly good at it as well.
Yeah.
She knows exactly how to get under his skin really quick, and him as well. I think it goes both ways.
Yeah.
It's just a very fun dynamic, them being openly hostile like this.
Yes. And then the problem is Kleya can't get the key to turn anymore as the conversation turns to insurgencies and their failures. And Kleya informs Lonnie that the key is stuck. And then we cut to another quick scene on Ghorman as a old woman approaches, confused on what's going on, and they escort her away. And on Coruscant, Kleya makes Lonnie stay, shifting to his right as she struggles with the key, and the tension is just rising in this scene. And Krennic and Mon sparring continues. It's getting louder, and Perrin tries to bring the temperature down a little bit. He kind of inserts himself, and Krennic then says, "What are we talking about? My rebel is your terrorist?" Something like that. And you can tell that the conversation's going south very quickly.
Yeah.
And Kleya needs Lonnie to hold the piece steady as she uses all of her strength to get it out, and she starts bleeding. And I was like, golly, this is just like, I would be like, Lonnie, do you want to switch? You want to?
You want to take over for me?
You want to get this?
Because like, I imagine it's probably it's a matter of dexterity and skill versus strength or anything. So I think she's probably the better agent for that mission.
Yeah, for sure. On On Ghorman, Lazine stops them, wondering what's going on, and the hothead pulls out a blaster to stop him. And the two men start fighting when the blaster goes off, and one shot is fired, and it's hit Cinta. Oof. And just so I'm starting to see the pattern here.
Yeah.
Episode 3, Brasso dies. Episode 6, Cinta dies.
Yeah, Luthen's going to die in 9. And then Cassian dies in 12 somehow. I don't know how they're going to...
Well, it's probably Bix.
I know.
It's
I was trying to make
Bix.
a joke.
Yeah. Well,
you know.
Cassian dies in 13, which is Rogue One.
Which is Rogue One. That's true.
Yeah. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen that movie. Yeah, so
you probably should by now.
Yeah,
if you're on episode 6 of season 2 of Andor, probably go ahead and watch Rogue One.
Probably a good idea. Vel runs to her and she's already dead. And then we cut back to Partagaz ordering them to call in the response team. And on Ghorman, Enza forces Vel to move, and the men pick up Cinta's body to leave. On Coruscant, they get to the Tinian Codex, and Luthen stands right next to Lonnie, and Lonnie does like a double take of like, oh, you're in here with me right now. Like he was totally not expecting Luthen to be there.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's like his worst nightmare right now. And Krennic starts talking with Kleya and asks why this piece is so special to her, and she kind of freezes, like she doesn't really know what to say in that moment. And it's Lonnie that saves her and explains how the blind used to read by touch. And Krennic jokes that some people he knows would feel right at home, and I couldn't help but think of his line from Rogue One: "Are you blind? Deploy the garrison."
All time funny moment in a Star Wars movie, honestly.
It's good stuff.
Everybody's just gobsmacked at the explosions.
Yeah, nobody's doing anything. Yeah. The Ghormans escape in the transport, and Vel is kind of in a shell shock a little bit. And later on the transport, she confronts the man who shot her, and she says that this will be with him for the rest of his useless life.
Yeah.
That Cinta was a warrior, someone he only wishes he could be, and she just goes all in on him.
Gives him both barrels. Like, does not hold anything back. Like, I'd just walk into the sea if somebody said all that to me, I think.
Yeah. It's like, just
I'd
let me get off, please.
Yep, just let me bail out of this transport.
I'm going to go turn myself in.
My fate.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. On Coruscant, Kleya gives Luthen the microphone, and they joke that they should have killed Krennic while they had the chance.
Yep.
That's kind of a nice moment between them.
Yeah, I mean, it was like they have the high of the mission succeeding, right? They accomplished what they set out for. They avoided danger, and so in that moment of relief, they're able to joke around a little bit and stuff. We haven't seen them be able to do that
in a while
at all. Whereas they were in season 1, they had kind of a nice little rapport. They'd banter a little bit, and like kind of tease each other and stuff. Like tensions have been wearing all that down. So it's nice to see a moment of it coming back.
Yeah. Before he probably, or someone dies next 3 episodes, right?
I mean, like that has been, like, we do have a whole cast of characters we got to do something with before they're not in Rogue One, right? So they could probably keep the same pace up, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yep, I think so for sure. Elsewhere on Coruscant, Dr. Gorse makes his way to his new office with a cake he's bought himself. So that's nice.
Nice to buy yourself a birthday cake.
Especially when you're torturing people. When he enters the room, Bix is there waiting for him in the corner, and she forces him into the chair, restrains him, and puts the headphones on him.
Woof.
And then she turns it all the way up and leaves him there to die by his own creation.
I don't think he dies. I think he's the only person who lives in this. I know the building blows up, but I think he lives, and he just has to sit in this horror until he dies of starvation.
Yeah,
that's what I want to happen to him. He's terrible.
He's pretty awful. But knowing that he died listening to the thing that he created.
Yeah.
There's a certain poetry
You could say it rhymes almost.
No one's ever said that before.
Yeah, so like it's a little bit of catharsis for what he's put Bix through and everything. It's nice to see Bix get this moment, but it doesn't change what she's gone through. You know,
No.
Like I don't think she's going to be fixed after this, so to speak.
No.
You know, she's still going to be going through it.
Yeah, I think so too. And so she exits, killing an Imperial guard on the way out, and she's joined by Cassian in the street as they walk away from the complex and blow it up. And they do the cool guy walking away from explosion thing.
It was a little bit cheesy for me. Just a
it?
little bit cheesy at the end there. I would have preferred them to like embrace or something. I don't know. It just like the cool guy walking away from the explosion thing was maybe a little much, but overall loved the way this ramped up into the conclusion
finally.
of the arc and everything. Yeah, I mean like the first half of this arc, a little slow paced, little scant in the substance department, I think. But and like I'm not even talking about action set pieces and stuff like that. Just big significant plot developments and that sort of thing.
Again, I feel like 4 and 5 could have been combined into one episode.
Yeah, that would have fixed some problems.
Because 6 feels like a middle episode.
It does.
Doesn't it? It doesn't feel like a finale to an arc.
Other than Bix's, like, the resolution, what resolution there is to be had from what she's been through, that makes it feel like a finale.
Sure.
But everything else, yeah, it kind of seems like it's building.
Yeah.
Because like everything on Ghorman's just ramping up, and the Krennic stuff getting closer.
I do suspect that next week is the Ghorman massacre, because we know that it's going to be 2 BBY next week.
Yep.
And we know from our Rebel Alliance 101 episode all the things that happened in 2 BBY, which like so many things happen in that year. So it's almost like this. I feel like this is a 6 episode arc and not actually a 3 episode arc.
Yeah, that's probably a better way to look at it. But we'll see when we get to see the episodes.
Now, let me ask you this before we head out of here. Do you think Luthen gave them that mission as a way to make things up to them, of like, you need this catharsis like you were saying?
Possibly. Because it doesn't make a whole lot of strategic sense, honestly, for them to be... Well, I guess... Also, it's to blow it up so that Lonnie doesn't have to get stationed there.
That's true.
So it is accomplishing that purpose as well. That is,
you're right.
Kind of an ulterior motive that Luthen could have had. I would like to think, though, that Luthen cares about Cassian and Bix, and this was a little bit of an olive branch to them.
Yeah, it felt that way to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we are halfway through season 2 of Andor.
Crazy.
It's been wild. We'll see how next week's episodes go. I can't wait to see what's coming down the pipe. With the some of the complaints we had for this arc, it still managed to ramp up and get me absolutely stoked for what's coming next.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I gotta know. So, well done on that front.
I feel like the last 6 episodes are going to be big. I feel like this is probably the slower part of the season. I do not expect next week to be as slow. And then, of course, with the final 3 episodes, I feel like it's just going to ramp up and ramp up and ramp up. So I think that next week is going to feel a little bit faster. So if it was a little bit of a slog to get through these episodes, I'd say hold on to next week. And I think we're starting to understand why they release 3 episodes at a time.
Yeah. I definitely think this show is consumed better in big arcs, like little movies and stuff. You get to sit in the tension and really study the stakes that are on the line for all the characters and everything. Cool. Well, we'll be doing our voicemail episode very shortly here. It'll be coming later this week. If you want to call into that, get your thoughts and your theories about what's coming up for episodes 7, 8, and 9, you can call in to 205-259-6675. That's 205-259-6675. Keep it under 3 minutes, and you could hear your thoughts on the show. So definitely do that. Engage with us on social media. If you like what we do and you want to support us, you can, check out our Patreon. It's patreon.com/MandalorianWatch. For just $2, you get access to all kinds of bonus episodes. You get access to the bonus voicemail Patreon episodes we're doing in season, and then all kinds of stuff, in the backlog, and all kinds of stuff we have planned for the future. So check that stuff out. Don't forget about our contest we have going on. If you want another way you can support us and support yourself potentially if you win, you can go to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review. In the review, you just got to write the code word Axis.
Access.
Thank you. Write that in the review, screenshot the review, and send it to MandalorianWatch@gmail.com. And to be entered in the giveaway for the COTW shirt, Andor Season 1 on Blu-ray, and a Rebel X-Wing pilot helmet. You definitely want to do that. That'll be... we'll be announcing that in the coming weeks, whoever wins. So get your entries in now. R.I.P. Brasso. We'll see you next week. Anything you need to add?
Cinta.
R.I.P. Cinta as well. That's the newest edition. Yeah.
I have nothing else to add except that I'm excited to listen to your voicemails, and I'm excited for next week.
Yeah. R.I.P. Marva. We'll see you all next week. Until then, keep the watch.